Hello, hello, and welcome. This is the So You're an Author podcast where I interview indie authors and we yap about their books. I'm your host, Adair Reese, and today's guest is Ashley Skolrud. When Ashley was in high school, her classmates predicted she would become an author. Her love of storytelling has shaped her entire life, starting with handwritten stories she wrote in her school's cafeteria, which eventually led to her getting an MFA in creative writing from Lindenwood University. Her love of magic and fairy tales has inspired all of her writings, and she longs to share her love of fantasy with everyone who crosses her path. When she's not creating her own worlds, she's teaching teenagers to fall in love with books as an English teacher. I want to thank Ashley for joining me today. How are you doing?
Great. How are you doing today?
I'm surviving. For those of you who don't know, the famous fiance KG, his episode will air before this one. Went back home to the UK for a little while, so I'm kind of back to being on my own again, and it's a little weird when you've had somebody with you for so long and then they're just not here anymore. But
Yeah.
we are surviving. We're making it through. We're keeping ourselves busy. We've got a bunch of fun stuff coming up. Hopefully in the podcast and then with my other, side projects and everything. But
Mhm.
so because I love being redundant and everything, tell me and our listeners a little more about yourself that maybe wasn't in the blurb.
I have a really good blurb. I had
You do have
honestly
a really good
haven't
blurb.
looked at my blurb in a while, so then you read it and I was like, "Oh crap, everything I was going to say actually was in there. Good job. Ask me." But
It's honestly a really, really good blurb.
yeah, th- it's the thing about getting an MFA is they actually do have a class on like how do you write your blurb? How do you write your book cover and everything. So like I took that class and apparently I did really well in it. Things not in there. I've got a dog and a snake. So the dog's name is Juliet. She is recently adopted. And then my snake's name is Aqua. She's a ball python. She is not so recently adopted. And then I'm also a avid crocheter, so I do make a lot of stuff when I'm not in the middle of editing a book.
I miss crocheting so much. I know how to do it, and honestly, I should just go to the store and buy some more yarn and just have fun with it, but at the same time, like, I feel like I have no downtime to do it.
Yeah, like my thing is I used to work at an online school, and so to pay attention during the day, just because my brain would be like, I would just be crocheting while I worked just so I could focus on everything that was on my screen. But now I've moved back to working at an in-person school and it's like, oh, all my crochet time disappeared.
Right? Yeah, like, I really do miss it. My hands are not what they used to be. I need to get some of those really cool, like I used to call them granny gloves, because like,
Oh, yes,
both
I
of
love
my
those
grandmothers
gloves.
were really heavy into crafting, so they had some of those, like, compression like, fingerless compression gloves. Oh my god, I want a pair so bad.
I do too.
Like,
It's on my
ugh,
list. Like carpal tunnel runs in my family. I'm like, I need it. I need it for writing. I need it for crocheting.
for real. Like, plus, like, my joints hurt all the time now that I'm getting older, and I'm like, "This sucks." But, anyway, that's neither here nor there. Uh, um, so I have to ask, just because if anybody on here knows their Threads lore, has Aqua ever disappeared into a, guitar case for weeks on end?
She has not. So Aqua actually is a special circumstance kind of snake.
Mhm.
She is what's called a spider morph, which are I love my snake to death. She should not have been bred and should not exist. So spider morph
Oh.
snakes are basically all born heavily disabled with what's called a wobble, which affects their balance, their aptitude, everything. So she's lovingly dumb, but also it is a result of the fact that she was bred and exists. So because of her wobble, girl can't get out. So when Hydra went missing, I was like, don't you dare. And Aqua just kept looking at me like, what? Get out of this thing? I don't know how to get out of this thing. I'm not strong enough to get out of this thing. And why would I want to? My heat lamp's right here.
Yeah, she was like, "I have the perfect setup, woman. Why would I disappear out of this?"
Pretty
Also,
much.
I love that. Oh, that reminds me, I had a friend who was obsessed with snakes. They're probably still obsessed with snakes. We just don't talk like we used to. And they had me watching this one YouTube channel where the guy breeds snakes. And like the different they got me into the different morphs and everything else. And I was like, it was a great hyper focus for about 6 months of
Mhm.
my life. But that's the first time I've ever heard of a spider morph, probably because they shouldn't be they shouldn't
Yeah.
be bred. It's not ethical
Like,
to do
the
that.
ethics of breeding a spider morph ball python is, like, heavily debated within the snake community, and, like, Aqua herself was a rescue. She came out of a pretty tragic snake hoarding situation, and so, like, I don't know her full history outside of the snake hoarding situation. Her moving in with me was the first time she was in a properly sized tank in her entire life. So, that's another reason I don't think she wants to leave. She's like, "I have room here."
She's like, I'm happy here. I don't ever wanna go back to whatever the hell I was going through before.
Exactly.
Like,
So,
let's just
with
hang
it,
out and stay here.
there's the ethics of breeding snakes and, like, the different morphs is honestly fascinating, but so many snake breeders won't even mention a spider morph now because they don't want people to know it exists because they're known as, like, the prettiest ball python, which is how this problem became a problem.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's just like the, um, dog breeders. I'm also,
Mhm.
for some reason, deep into dog breeder TikTok. And so, like, I've been seeing, like, people talking about the ethics of that too. But again, that's a whole other rabbit hole I could go down for, like,
It is.
forever.
It's similar, but not the same.
Yeah, like, it's I feel like breeding animals in general should be something, in my opinion. I don't know anything about breeding animals. I Blucifer is a shelter cat who was probably picked up in a dumpster somewhere. I've never owned like a that's a lie. I owned an AKC bred German Shepherd for a little while, and then she ended up going to the owner of one of her sisters because they just had more room than I did. And
Mm,
but anyway, so like, but animal breeding in general, I think should be more regulated, horses included.
yes,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah, but that's just me, whatever. I don't think we should be breeding for weird morphs and colors and things. I think we should be breeding for the health of the breed itself. But again, I have no leg to stand on in this race. It's just me from an outside perspective being like, y'all are weird for wanting animals that come with disabilities just because they look pretty, you know?
Mhm.
So, but
And, like,
anyway.
I'm really lucky with Aqua. Her wobble is not as bad as it could be,
Yeah.
but
Lucifer, do you have anything to say about the treatment of animals in their breeding programs, or are you just screaming at me? Oh, really? Really? Yeah? Come here. Come here. He's very needy now that his dad is not
Mhm.
here. He does not like me sitting in the booth and not paying attention to him. Well, come here, sir. Come here so we can talk. Yeah, you can tell me all about it up here in my lap. Okay. All right. Is this better? Okay. Anyway, back to the interview now that we've gone off on our first tangent of the hour. Um, when did you like start writing? I know that your blurb mentions high school, but you were writing before that, right?
I was. So 3rd grade is the big start of my writing journey. And I did this assignment and I remember doing this assignment perfectly. We had to like cut out 3 pictures from a magazine and then make a little collage and then write a story based on the collage. And my teacher loved my story so much, she secretly admitted it into the school writing competition that I didn't even know we had because I was just a little undiagnosed autistic child who, if it's not explicitly said to me 5 different ways and then put on a flyer in front of me, it doesn't necessarily like stay in my brain very well. So I didn't know it even existed until she gave me a piece of paper that was like, "Congratulations, you're a finalist in the school writing competition." I was like, "What school writing competition?" And she's like, "Your story." And I was like, "Oh, that's why you never handed me my story back."
I was wondering what you did with that. If you just never
Yeah,
okay.
and I ended up winning.
Oh, I love that.
And so that was when the writing bug first hit. I wrote little stories. I tried my hand at poetry. I was really bad at poetry. I tried my hand at songwriting. I was somehow even worse at that than the poetry. And then I just started writing in high school because all of my friends had a different lunch than I did. And I didn't want to try and make new friends. And I was like, this is great writing time. So I started writing, and that was that.
I love that all of us have started almost in the exact same similar way, and that I feel like almost not every single, but almost every single author that I've interviewed on this, and your episode will be 14. We're all neurodivergent in some kind of way, and so like I love that we're all like, yeah, we were just like kind of the, well, kind of the weird kids who just did a bunch of writing and stuff and whatever. But making friends is not fun. And
It's not
making
fun.
friends as a kid is easier. Making friends as an adult sucks. But making
It's
friends is just not
true.
fun.
And, like, I also moved a lot when I was
Oh,
growing up, so I
yeah,
never
yeah.
lived anywhere more than 4 years. The only time I was out of school for 4 years in a row was high school, and that even was iffy because we almost ended up moving my junior year. And so it's like, okay, undiagnosed autistic because nobody knew what autism looked like in girls. Then I'm moving all the time, so I'm weird. And I'm moving to very different places. So, like,
Mhm.
my last big move was from like Montana to Arizona. And let me tell you, what's cool in Montana and what's cool in Arizona are two very different things. So I was like 3 years behind, like even pop culture when I moved to Arizona, just because of how different the environments were. So it was like I was always behind and I never did a good job at getting out of it.
Uh, I got lucky and never really had to move. I've lived in Arkansas basically my entire life, except for when I lived in Oregon for a little while, with my ex-husband. That was a kind of a culture shock, but honestly, I fit in better in Oregon than I do around here.
Mhm.
My weird is that Portland kind of weird, but not in the, like, hippie kind of weird way, just in the, like,
And the keep
witchy,
Portland weird kind
indie
of weird.
kind of, yeah, yeah. Um, but, like, other than that, I got lucky, but I was that little weird kid in school. Like, I was the president of my anime club, which was cool to me and cool to all my friends, but was not cool in
Yep.
general. And, like, I was the one wearing, like, cat ears and, like, face paint on my face because I was a little weeb before it was cool to be a weeb, and, like so I get it, I get it.
Yeah, like that's one of the things that I miss of when I was in high school was just how the weird kids, it was not cool to be weird, but we found each other and we were weird, and that is
Oh,
not
yeah.
something that I see as much with my own students now that I'm a teacher.
Yeah, like our weird was weird and cringe, but we were free, and we were all weird and cringe with the other weird cringy kids.
Yeah.
Like, you had, like, your weird cringy kids, but then you had, like, your really weird, like, maybe you should watch these kids because you could end up on a manifesto if you didn't make friends with them, or or you know what I mean? Or, like, then you had, like, your, like, popular kids and your, like, other little genres of people. But, like, my little group of weird was, like, we were all anime nerds, we were all creatives in some kind of way. I think almost all of us were undiagnosed ADHD of some level. I have what I call really friendly ADHD, where, like, I talk to people really easily, and I can just, like, like, chameleon into a situation really well, which you would think would make it easy to make friends, but it's not.
No, it's
'Cause
worse.
you're
I
just
have that, but
yeah.
the autism version of that.
Yeah, yeah. But, yeah, and I feel like the advent of social media and the way that it is these days, and maybe you can attest to this since you do teach teenagers, it's like they're scared to be weird.
They're so scared. They're
Because
so
they're like,
scared
"Oh,
to be
this
weird.
is gonna end up on, like, TikTok or something." I'm like, "Dude, just be cringy. Like, just do it. Do
Yeah,
it for do it for the Vine, okay?" I know Vine's not a thing anymore, but, like,
yeah.
just be
No,
cringy,
they
be
are
weird.
definitely scared to be weird. We do have a couple who are like, I'm gonna do it anyway, and I love those kids to death. Um, but it's always like, come on, you can be weird. Like I had one girl who I loved her to death the whole year. It was the last day of school that she told me that she was a writer, and she thought it was the coolest thing I was a writer, because I don't write under a pen name because of academia stuff, and because I do want to eventually go to college, and because my MFA is in my name, they kind of
Mhm.
fact check. So I unfortunately was kind of never got into being able to have a pen name because of my academic work, which sucks, but it's the life I chose, and I knew that going into it. But
But
as a result, my students all know I'm a writer, and they know where to find my books, and they talk about it, and half of them buy it. And I'm like, I want you to tell your parents I did not force you to write my book, buy my books. But even with it, she was like, yeah, it was the coolest thing having you as a writer. And how do you go about it? Like, I want to practice. And I was like, well, have you written fan fiction like on AO3? And she was like, oh, you know what AO3 is? It's like, yes, I know what that is.
you're like, "I've been on AO3 since the beta was still there because 'cause they're finally out of beta after, what,
And
forever?"
what's funny is I never actually wrote fan fiction. I was a Tumblr RPer. So it was like
Oh, yeah.
adjacent, but not the same, but enough that there
Yeah.
was overlap that yes, I know exactly what that is.
Yeah, see, and everybody's here has heard the story a million times before, but I cut my teeth on role plays on Gaia Online, and then also writing cringy fan fiction, um, that I won't repeat, but people like, you're not gonna be able to find it because I can't even remember half my usernames. You might be able to find my AO3 stuff if you dig really hard, but that was stuff that I wrote when I was really heavily into the Dragon Age and Mass Effect fandoms, and people paid me to write those fics, some of them at
Oh,
least. So, like, I made money writing fan fiction for people. Don't go down that path thinking you're gonna do that. That was just something
yeah.
I did at the time because it was COVID and I needed money, and people were like, "Hey, you're a pretty decent writer. Will you write a story about this canon character in my OC?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, brother." But I really think kids should cut their teeth on fan fiction,
I do
because
too.
it's a lived in world. You're not having to come up with your own stuff. You can make your own characters,
And
and
it's
it
such a
really
great
helps
way,
you. Yeah.
especially with like, okay, I'm developing my OC. How do they react to everything that happens in canon? Great. That's a great way to practice characterization. And then
Mhm.
like the other skills of, okay, well now I know what these characters look like, so I know how to describe them. So that then helps me describe my own character better. And I know the world, so now I can describe the setting. And it's a great way to learn all of those skills before you're doing it all yourself.
Yeah, and you're having to come up with your own worlds and then your world building and, but then again, I've seen some people pull out some AUs, for those who don't know, that means alternate universe, um, that are just, like, completely new universes, basically, just with, like,
Mhm.
these book characters or TV characters or whoever just thrown into them. Like, I think some of the best AUs I've ever read were actually supernatural AUs, and I'm just like, what are y'all being fed?" Like, it's almost like seeing the TikTok editors these days. Like, what are they feeding you guys?
I know.
Like, I haven't read fan fiction in a long time, but I'm both a fan of Iron Lung and Project Hail Mary, and the Bloody Mary shit between Simon and Ryland Grace has me kinda chomping at the bit to read fan fiction again. So, like, might have to dig into AO3 for that one, but
Yeah.
it's really cool that people it again, I think that's, like, getting back to what I was kinda saying is I really think all younger and or newer writers, even if you're older in life and you're wanting to start writing, just start writing a fic fet set in your favorite universe of whatever show you might be into or whatever book or movie or whatever. Some pe some people are weirdly against it. Like, I recently saw somebody on Threads saying that they would actually freak out if they saw that somebody was writing fan fiction about their characters, and I was like, "That
See,
is, like, the biggest compliment to me that if you
yeah, that's
feel."
such a big compliment. 'Cause, like, even
Yeah.
though I was never actually in the fan fiction space, like, I would absolutely love it if someone loved my characters enough to write fan fiction. Now, that being said, I don't want to read it because I don't want to accidentally steal an idea that they had, and then that does open up lawsuit stuff. So, like, I'd love to know it exists, but I wouldn't want to read it.
I always told myself that if I published and people started writing fan fiction in my universe, that I would make another pen name. and, like, write my own fan fiction just for somebody to be like, "Oh my god, that's really, like" and then, like, it comes out in the book, and they're like, "Oh my god, you stole from them," and I'm like, "Actually,
Actually, that
that's
was
me. I
me.
was test running this idea. I was test running it to see what you all thought about it." I would be the kind of person to troll people like that in a playful way, obviously.
Yeah.
But to me, like, fan art, fan fiction, stuff like that is, like, a huge compliment, but, um, I love that you're encouraging your students who are like, "How do I get better at this?" to write fan fiction. I think that's really, really cool. Um
It's such a good way to learn the basics of writing. And especially because she was like, I thought you were going to give me something academic, and now you're telling me something I already have. But it's a great way to get feedback, even though
Mhm.
some commenters are really, really mean, depending on the fandom. It's a great way to practice. It's a great way to get your style and your voice all set up before you start really going into what stories do I want to tell.
It's also really good to build a thick skin, because
Mhm.
the publishing world, indie or trad, is not for the faint of heart.
It
Um,
really isn't.
like, I know eventually when I publish something, I was telling KG, I was like, "Please do not let me get obsessed with reviews because I will," and he's like, "You're not allowed to read them." He's like, "I will read them, and I will read you the nice ones." And I'm like, "Well, you have to read me the mean ones too. You just have to make sure that I'm, like, cuddled up in my blanket and comfortable, and then you can just watch me cry about it."
Yeah, I don't have a lot of reviews. It's really interesting in that I found because Sidekicks is part science fiction, part urban fantasy. I personally think it's science fiction, but as soon as you mention on the internet that you think a superhero story is science fiction, ooh, does that have strong opinions? And they're
Really?
like, no, it's urban fantasy. You would think that superheroes equal science fiction. And let me tell you,
I
50% of superhero fans do not believe that statement.
okay, so when somebody says urban fantasy to me, I'm picturing and maybe mine's a mix of, like, urban fantasy and, like, paranormal urban fantasy or whatever, but when you say urban fantasy to me, I'm picturing, like, fae and vampires and werewolves and things like that, like, in an
Uh-huh.
urban setting. Like, Patricia
Hey,
Briggs to me is urban fantasy. Um, like, not no, Sidekicks definitely feels more I think you call it, like, a sci-fi thriller or something in
yes,
the
sci-fi thriller.
that's even what I did for those of you who don't know, I did a snippet of it for Human Voices Only. It came off to me as, I don't consider Batman urban fantasy.
Mhm.
Batman is very much it's like an urban sci-fi.
Yeah,
Like,
it's urban
it's
sci-fi, it's
yeah.
a thriller, especially if you go into a lot of the earlier Batman stuff. It
Yeah.
was all mysteries. There's a
Yeah.
reason he was called the world's greatest detective, and it was because so much of the early comics were breaking down and showing that detective work. So, like, with Sidekicks, it was very much like this is more thriller than mystery, but there's the superhero. So that's what I'm calling it. But if I say sci fi thriller, then I've got all the superheroes or urban fantasy people upset. If I call it an urban fantasy thriller, then all the people who are like superheroes or sci fi get upset. So I'm like, I just call it superhero.
You
And
should literally just call it an urban science thriller. And then watch their heads really spin.
oh my goodness, I don't like starting fights on the internet, or else I would.
Trust me,
Like,
I'll come to your defense. I'll show up there with my pink little PFP, and I will beat somebody down.
yeah, it's just it is wild, like, just the way that even people who love superheroes cannot decide on a genre of what it fits into, and because of that and I've noticed, because I do follow a lot of other people who write superhero stuff, a lot of them start off being like, "This is science fiction," and a lot of them do the same thing I did, just kind of naturally, where we take out anything relating to science fiction or anything related to urban fantasy and just start calling it superhero. And the fact that so many people do that organically within their marketing is kind of like fascinating in the way that it shows how weird this is of a genre to write in.
Yeah, and it really kind of is because I feel like especially with like Marvel having the MCU really heavy in popular media now, and then the DCU coming back to life with James Gunn making all these new DC movies and everything. Superheroes have kind of become their own genre. I mean,
Mhm.
and like when you really think about it, like
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's part of the thing is, especially with Marvel movies getting big, we've got like Iron Man, who's very much sci-fi. Everything he does is science-based. He doesn't actually have any
Mhm.
powers. On the other hand, we've got Wanda Maximoff. Her power's literally magic. And so that's where a lot of the debate comes in, is because there's a lot of science-based superpowers like mutations, everything like
Mhm.
that. We see that, but on the other hand, a lot of mystical, a lot of magic, a lot of things also exist, and they don't want to admit that maybe they can come together, so instead they're going to fight about what it actually is. So you just label it as superhero and then you can have both.
Yep, you can just have the best of all the worlds. um So I think we've kind of touched on a couple of other things, and we've talked about sidekicks. Is it sidekick or sidekicks with an S?
Sidekicks with an
Okay,
S.
that's what I thought. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's with an S. So what was your inspiration behind, yeah, behind sidekicks?
Batman, actually.
Look, honestly, when I was reading it, I was like, this is so Bat Family coded, with
Yes, it's
like,
very Bat Family coded.
yeah.
Basically, I was watching the live action Titan series, which a lot of people hate, but that is one of my favorite series. And season 3, they kind of adapted um the storyline where the Joker kills Jason Todd.
Oh,
And
they did that storyline.
they did that
That's my
storyline.
favorite storyline ever. I'm sorry. I love
Same.
Jason Todd is my boy. That is my
Yes.
baby. That is
So
my
they
man.
did
Like
everything with his death, with him
yeah,
going
yeah.
through the Lazarus pit, with him becoming the Red Hood. So all of that's in season 3 of Titans, by the way. Highly recommend it. But something they did in the season that deviated from the story is they actually had Bruce Wayne go kill the Joker.
No.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Okay, okay. Let me get on my little ADHD rant about this because like it's such a huge thing in Under the Red Hood, which if you haven't watched that movie, I highly
Oh, I
recommend
love
it.
that movie so
There's
much.
also Jensen Ackles as Jason Todd is ugh. Anyway, um, that was such a big point in Under the Red Hood. So the
Mhm.
fact that they actually had Bruce go kill the Joker is insane.
Yes, like, it breaks the fundamentals of
Yeah,
Batman,
it
and
does.
so, with it, I was like, "That is an interesting thing you pulled," and I thought they actually did it really, really well, and so, with it, I was like, "What if there was a Batman-coded superhero who has that line, and he ends up breaking his rule to kill his nemesis, and he kills the wrong person?"
I love that.
What happens as a result? What happens to his sidekicks? Because so many of these superhero stories, you see them adopt all of these children, and you never really kind of get into the fact that all of these kids are like actively very close to killing people on a
Mhm.
regular basis. And
Yeah.
you see it sometimes in the comics that's brought up. And then a lot of the popular movies, they just kind of cut the sidekicks aspect out of it. So you don't really have like the childhood kind of trauma that goes with it. And I was like, what is this trauma? What happens if basically he does the one thing he swore he was never going to do, and in his guilt he disappears, but one person knows he killed the wrong guy, and that was Nikki through her superpower of being able to read emotions. And she saw the emotions of the guy who basically gets killed, doesn't match what you would expect from the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens with all of this trauma that they experienced, because they watch a murder happen, they all barely survive the situation they're in. Their mentor disappears and basically tells the oldest one, congrats, you're in charge, because he was 18 at the time, and or 19. He was 19. He might have been 20. I don't remember Nate's age off the top of my head, actually.
That's fine.
Nate is the most people have the most opinions about him. He's one of my favorites, but
is he like and I'm going to compare this a lot to the Bat Family because, again, you hit another special interest of mine because people ask me all the time. They're like, okay, so like you like DC, so like who's your favorite? And I'm like, oh, the Bat Family. And they're like, oh, so Batman? And I'm like, no. The family. Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Stephanie Brown. Stephanie Brown is my favorite Robin and Batgirl.
Stephanie Brown.
Justice for Stephanie Brown.
My favorite Robin is also controversial. My favorite's Damian Wayne.
I love Damian.
But so many people hate him. I'm like, you get away from my murder baby right now.
Right. One of my all-time favorite fan fiction series ever is somebody took Stephanie Brown's character and they were like, what if Black Mask killed her instead of the Joker killing Jason Todd and she became Red Hood? And it is some of the best AU fan fiction I've ever read in my entire life, and it has spawned so many book ideas for me because like I love that so much. But anyway, so so I was just like, okay, so is Nate like Dick Grayson coded then, or is he like?
It's interesting because if you look at my worst review of the book is basically saying that this was Batman fan fiction, which it isn't. There are similarities to the Bat Family, and they insisted that Nate was Dick Grayson with anxiety. And the thing is, you can argue he's very Dick Grayson coded, but I don't feel that he is, because the reason people hate Nate is because my boy has PTSD and an anxiety disorder, and even though he is on anxiety medication, he is on the wrong dose of his anxiety medication, so it does nothing.
Zero done that.
And so his whole approach to trauma was to do the exact same thing his dad did, which was ghost everyone and peace out and never talk to them again.
Also relatable.
Yeah.
I'm gonna love Nate.
Yeah. So, and like, he had just found out literally the day before this all happened, his girlfriend was accidentally pregnant, and they were already planning on like getting married really early anyway, and they're like, oh goodness, guess we're getting married now. And so they literally just went and were like, we are gonna do the whole white picket fence, 2 kids because it was twins.
Yeah, like he got out of the life. Yeah,
he got out of the life, and he did not want to get pulled back in. So what do you mean he got pulled back in?
So what do you mean Nikki shows up at his door and is like, hey, so
yes, actually that's exactly what happens, but with their younger brother too, Zane. And it's really interesting. I love the way this family works because the 3 of them are half siblings.
Yeah.
Ish. And so technically, Nate and Zane are not blood related at all. So Nate's dad was terrible, and I have to gloss over some things about that for reasons. And his mom married Sebastian, who was Nikki's dad. They then have Nikki. And then Zane shows up on their doorstep. He is the youngest, but he was from a relationship before her. Again, it's weird. You just kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
And so with it, because there's like all of these like other people have different parents kind of things going on too. It just creates a very weird sibling dynamic that I really loved exploring with this. Because again, it's another thing that you see a ton in superhero fiction, in that there's a ton of half siblings, but no one's ever just talking about it.
I love it. I love it. I love all of it. I love the whole aspect of it. So I ask everybody, and I'll ask you, are you a plotter or a pantser when it comes to your books?
Yes, it
Yes.
depends on. So it's really interesting. In that it for me it truly does depend on the book. Sidekicks was fully pantsed. My Wizards of Wildfell Hall series, I had the entire series plotted before I ever started writing book one. Um, the Witching Hour was a little bit of a mix, because when I started writing the book, I didn't actually know I was writing the book because it was my MFA thesis. And with the way my program was set up, was you could use writing from other classes in your thesis with editing and stuff. And so two of the stories in the Witching Hour were actually assignments for two different classes who had the same professor. And after I turned in the second one, she was like, I think you figured out your thesis. And I was like, I think you're right. But because that one is weirdly structured, it was okay, who else is here? I have to plan out like the fairy tales. I need to reread the fairy tales to make sure that they work. And then my newest book, I Love You, It's Ruining My Life, also fully pantsed. I had a weird dream and I went with it.
Those are the best ones when you're like, I call them twilight hour dreams, but it's the ones where you're like half awake, half asleep, and they're like really vivid in your head. I don't know if you have those, but I do. And those
Yes.
always give me the best ideas for things. And then I'm lucky if I remember to wake up and write them down. So I'm glad that you wrote down the one for "I love you, it's ruining my life."
Oh, same. But the thing is, when I have a dream that like a story comes out of, I can't forget it. Like, I was not planning on writing this book. I was planning on jumping straight into Sidekicks 2, which is slightly more plotted, just because I now have the world building done. I've got a lot of things, and I knew the ending of book 2 before I ever was going to start it. So I was like, okay, I need to figure out how do we get to that specific ending. So that one's more plotted, which is also really weird going from a pantsed book to a plotted book. But anyway, it was that dream. I was like, I'm not going to write this book. I got things to write. I don't got time for this. And that dream literally for the next 2 days just kept popping up all the time in my mind. It'd be like, remember this happened? Remember this happened? Remember this happened? And like, none of the stuff in that dream actually ended up in the book.
That's
It
hilarious.
just was like a sign basically to write the book. And I'm actually really glad I wrote it before Sidekicks 2, because even though it's a very sad book, I'm incapable of writing happy books, it appears to be. I keep trying and they keep being sad, so I'm like, I guess I'm just a depressing writer and everyone just gets to be hurt, and then maybe there's a happy ending at the end. Yay. But with it, it was a really good palate cleanser going off of writing the whole outline for Sidekicks 2, because that book, the outline made me cry twice.
I am also incapable of writing happy books, so I feel you on that. So much I feel you on that. That's why I'm like, I don't know if I actually want to write these romanticides I have planned, because the word romance means that I have to make it a happy ending. So we'll see.
Mhm. No, it's like all 3 books of the Rainfall trilogy, which is what I Love You, It's Ruining My Life is book 1 for. I've got basically the other 2. I've got the main characters plotted. I've got
Mhm.
what's their big problem plotted. And that's as far as I'm getting with those. I really want to keep it because they are contemporary. I don't have to do as much world building or anything. I just kind of pick a town and plop them in it. And Unlike a lot of contemporary romance books, each one actually is taking place in a different location, which is fun for me. Um, but anyway, I'm like, okay, those are barely gonna be plotted.
Yeah.
But they're all sad. I can tell you they're all sad.
I can tell you that you'll be throwing the emotional damage gif at me every chance you get after you read
Yep.
them.
Uh-huh. I'm
Sorry, not
expecting that a lot
sorry.
from my ARC readers. I'm like, because I'm doing my final pass of big edits right now, and I'm like, oh, let's make this worse. Oh,
So,
let's make this worse.
so while we're on the topic of it, let's talk about "I Love You, It's Ruining My Life." Like we kind of I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it before, but me and my authors, we talk before. For the listeners, we talk a little bit before we jump on here, and I told Ashley that I call "I Love You, It's Ruining My Life" her Jonas Brothers AU. Uh, just because like it is three brothers in a band, and I just think it's really, really neat. So please tell our listeners a little bit more about it, because by the time this airs, you'll be getting ready for ARC readers. So I would love
Yes.
to talk about it a little more. And then we have a big announcement that we're going to mention maybe after we finish talking about "I Love You, It's Ruining My Life."
Yes. So this is my very first romance book. It's my very first contemporary book. So it's been fun to explore a different genre because I genre hop all the time. But in this book, we've got Cameron Rain of Rainfall, because every opportunity I could find to use a pun in this book, I did, and I am not sorry, and y'all just have to deal with it. But the band's name is Rainfall. Their last name is Rain. So Cameron Rain has had a really bad 7-ish years where the band broke up, of him and his brothers. His wife ended up with a rare form of brain cancer, and even Superstar health insurance does not cover that kind of cancer. So all of his rock star money went to her treatment, and she unfortunately died anyway, leaving him and his daughter alone. And because he can no longer afford his mortgage on his giant superstar house because he spent all of his money on the healthcare system being broken, he moves back to his childhood hometown where his best friend Nalini still lives. And she does not want to see him. She has not seen him in 15 years. She does not want him to move back because Rainfall's breakout single was named after her after she broke up with Cameron's twin brother Jack. And that song ruined her life. She was infamously stalked by the paparazzi. She had a whole bunch of hate come towards her because it was really easy to figure out her address. She basically can only go in Briar Hill, the town they live in, because it's the only place where everyone understands and doesn't immediately start jumping on her for something that happened 15 years ago. So he moves back. She's not happy. And oops, maybe they fall in love along the way of all their depressing issues that they're going to therapy for.
I also love that you could totally take this in a kind of like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like the consequences of what happens when obviously like a rock star or somebody like talks about a real life person. I kind of love that you're going to be I assume you're going to be exploring that in the
Yes.
novel, and like the consequences of like doxing people and those kind of actions and things like that.
So the main things that this focuses on is grief, adult disillusionment with your own life, and parasocial relationships, which, cause that doxing, cause all of this stuff that happens. And so there's a lot of, every time people get weirdly parasocial online, I'm like, I didn't actually do enough. I have to make this worse again. So I have to make this worse again. I literally just wrote and revised an entire chapter of a town hall meeting that somebody leaked that Cameron was going to be there because he just wants to volunteer for the town festival. And suddenly there's like every millennial woman who was a fan of his in a 50-mile radius shows up at this to try, because they know he's single, to try and like get his attention. So you see a lot of that happening, and it's a little bit played to the extreme in the book. But at the same time,
I could totally see that happening in real life.
exactly.
Like,
It's like, exactly. It's the kind of thing that, oh, that could happen. So I really wanted to look into that like parasocial relationship, because it's something that happens so often. And we see like with Dumois, I have something similar to that in the book, and it causes a lot of problems. And so you see like, what does anonymously giving tips on where celebrities are or giving tips on their life, what does that cause? What does all of this sort of look like, especially for someone who was a celebrity, still has a pretty rabid fan base, but actually hasn't done anything to be famous in 7 years? What does that even look like?
I'm so excited for this. I'm so excited. I'll admit I'm not a big contemporary romance girly. However, I love the idea of this and the fact that you're exploring grief after losing a loved one, basically becoming a single parent, and also the kind of crazy reality of like parasocial relationships, like you said. So like I'm hella excited. We all need to
Yeah,
read
like
this. It sounds amazing.
it's sad, but it does have a happy ending. I keep having to tell people, okay, no one dies in this book, which is new for me. It's got a happy ending. And they're like, is it a happy book? I'm like, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
I didn't say it was a happy book. I said the ending was
Is happy.
quote quote
And
happy.
no, it is happy. Honestly,
good.
favorite scene is the epilogue.
Oh, I love that. So
And it's not an epilogue baby type way.
Good.
They're recently engaged in the epilogue, but there's no epilogue baby.
Epilogue
Nalini
babies
is
are
going
one
to
of
be
my
pregnant in book 3, but it's something that they've both actively talked about. They want more kids, but Jack and Noah, who are books 2 and 3, neither of them want kids. So like, there's never going to be an epilogue baby in this, but there is a baby in a future book, but only one of them.
But it's also not like the baby's going to become the main character all of a sudden or anything. So
because it's in book 3. It's the last of the trilogy, and Nalini's a side character in that book.
Epilogue babies, I know some people are cool with them. I'm not usually cool with epilogue babies.
No, the epilogue, it does not do the normal romance epilogue at all. Like, it's not their wedding. It's not an epilogue baby. It is something that I felt the story needed for final closure without being like the stereotypical happily ever after, but it gives them that.
Yeah. Apparently it's the witching hour for Blue. I don't know if you can hear him screaming or not. He's also very excited about the fact there's no epilogue baby. Yeah, epilogue babies. I'm not saying they're always bad things. I'm just saying
they're not always bad.
That
this
book,
just don't expect an epilogue baby at all in this series.
Oh, that's what I was getting at. I saw a TikTok earlier. Maybe it was a TikTok, maybe it was a thread. I don't know. I'm chronically online, so it could be either app. But where like they were talking about how epilogue babies usually happen to the characters who are like adamant they don't want kids, and then all of a sudden they like, you know, women who don't want kids, and all of a sudden they meet the man, they fall in love, and then all of a sudden they're a trad wife in the epilogue, and you're like, where did that come from?
Yes, I hate that.
Yeah.
No, like it's really interesting because slight spoilers in the future. One of the love interests in a future book just straight up doesn't want kids at all. The other one had a pretty traumatic infertility background, and she's like, I'm never doing that again. No. And so I wanted to like kind of show the different like potential ways that you can have that forever with someone and what that would look like without it just being, and then everyone has the baby and they're happy ever after the end.
I love that. I love it because even though I currently have a kid, my relationship with KG will be kid free because I had a hysterectomy before I met him.
Mhm.
And so like I love seeing stories where people can be happy being kid free. Cause like I've told him before, I was like, look, if we could have a kid, I would, because I think we would have the cutest little autistic ADHD
Mhm.
kid to ever roam the land and be into all the weird little things that we're into. But um at the same time, like I love reading stories where it's like, we didn't want kids and we're still happy and we're still in love with each other, and that's not going to change our relationship
Yeah.
because we don't
And
have,
like
a carbon
what's
copy
really
of one of us running
interesting
around.
is book 2 Jack is the one I'm kind of got plotted out. And Jack is a big character in I Love You, It's Ruining My Life. And he's going to be another Nate. I already know everyone's going to hate him and they're going to be like, "Why are you basing book 2 around him?" And I'm like, "Because between book 1 and book 2, he has a year's worth of therapy."
Guys, he goes to therapy.
He goes to therapy
He
because
goes
he
to
admits
therapy.
that who he is in book 1, he doesn't want to be anymore, and he knows he's a problem. And he is a problem in book 1. He's a very big Jack Rain shaped problem. That being said, I love his story, but he also very much doesn't want kids. And so it's kind of nice to just be like, they're going to have that conversation early on because it's a wake up and we got married in Vegas book.
Oh, I love it.
So they it's so fun going from this one where like they're barely engaged in the epilogue and they don't even get together until like the third act, to Jack and Quinn, who are literally chapter 1 married but strangers.
I love that. I love the hey, we've got married in Vegas and I don't even know your last name.
Uh-huh.
So I love that so much. I think I
Yeah,
think I think that's one of my like favorite like romance tropes. Is that is probably one of my favorite ones if I'm reading like a contemporary kind of romance. Which again is rare for me, but that is one of my favorite ones. Is like
yeah, no, it's
yeah.
such a fun trope, and like it's and Quinn's reasoning for it because they I know that Quinn is somewhere on the non-binary spectrum. I haven't quite nailed down if it's a she they situation or a they them situation yet.
Mhm.
Because I haven't started writing the books to know, but somewhere on the non-binary spectrum. And with it, they are very much, there's a reason that they go through with it, completely unrelated because they were halfway sober and enough to actually think this is a bad idea. But also, I have a reason for doing this, completely unrelated to Jack Rain.
uh, I'm excited for that one too. I'm excited for all of these. Like I'm excited for everything, but do you want to know what I'm most excited about?
What?
Would you like to make the announcement?
Oh, that excitement about how you are going to be the narrator of the audiobook of Sidekicks.
Yay! Clap, 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 clap. Applause. Yes.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Yes, as you all heard, I will be narrating Sidekicks. This will be the technically third book by an author that I have interviewed that I will be narrating. I'm also narrating some others, but those aren't important right now because they're not yours. Don't get me wrong, they are important.
Yes.
If you're listening to this, you know who you are and your books are important. I promise. Please don't think I don't think your books are important. But yes, I am super super excited. I mentioned it before that I did a snippet for Human Voices Only and I loved it. I thought it was great and I was like,
It was
you
so
know,
perfect.
and then you being like, Loki, I want to hire you, and I was like, ACX, we can do that.
We can do that.
I'm still a fairly new audiobook narrator, so I don't mind going through ACX and doing it that way. Because I feel like even though I could have a whole conversation about the royalty share stuff, even though it'll make us nickels because pennies don't exist anymore. I think it's a great way to make books accessible to people who to really to authors who don't have the money to put up, 1,500, 2 grand, three
I
grand
know.
to produce an audiobook.
It
I
was
think it's
interesting. So
great.
I mentioned with my students, I actually had a kid ask me why I didn't have audiobooks last year. And I was like, I don't have the money. And he's like, it can't be that expensive. I was like, hiring a narrator typically can be anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000. And do
Or
you
more.
think that I can pay that just out of pocket? And he was like, oh, yeah, you're a teacher. And I was like, yeah, thanks for that one. But
Oh, that's
yeah.
right. You're a teacher.
And he was like, "That's actually really, really expensive. I never would have thought it was that expensive." And I was like, "Well, if someone's reading the entire book and then they have to edit and they have to do all this stuff," and he's like, "Oh, that's a lot of work." And so
Mhm.
he came to the conclusion that it is worth that much money, but at the same time, it's such out of pocket. And like, yeah, the royalty share stuff sucks, but also is so good for accessibility and availability. And I've had multiple people ask for Sidekick specifically to be an audiobook, and I've always had to be like, eventually. So like the fact that I can finally be like, hey, it's happening is really, really exciting.
By 2027, there will be one. I speaking of like the production behind like the scenes of recording an audiobook from a narrator's side of it, I got really really lucky that KG is basically my audio engineer. Like he goes through and he makes sure
Mhm.
that everything sounds right. I do some editing on my side too, but he really helps me like really clean it up and stuff. And so like it's a lot. It's
Yeah.
a lot. Like I can literally spend me personally, I can spend 3 hours just narrating something, and I depending on the book, I've maybe read maybe a chapter an hour, if that. And that's with like going back and recording over mess ups and stopping to pause here or, this or that. Or after about 4 hours of straight talking, my voice starts going out and I've got to call it a day for a
Mhm.
few hours and maybe go back that night or something. So it's a lot of people don't understand that it's also a lot on us as
Yeah.
narrators to, and that's why they're so expensive. And then you get into like the dual POVs where you have two narrators, or the duets where you're doing it like not
Oh,
necessarily
I
live
know.
in tandem, but and again, I got lucky. I can do duet narrations with KG, and we just kind of combine the cost for both of us together since we're like
Mhm.
a
Package
a
duo.
package deal, yeah, yeah. Um, so, like, we're lucky on that aspect. A lot of people can't do that, so you're paying, like, 2 grand for a female narrator and then 2 grand for a male narrator, and then maybe another 2 grand if you send it to a company to do your post-production because your
Mhm.
narrators don't do that or something, like, it's a lot.
Just so much. And like it should be that much. That's the thing. Is everyone deserves to be paid that much for their work.
Oh,
It
yeah.
just
Oh, yeah. And again,
is
I'm not a big fan of Amazon. I'm not a big fan of KDP and all of that because like they've cornered the market in such a way that it's so hard
to
like
not.
not be in Kindle Unlimited to get the page reads, to not do ACX for royalty share on the narration, to not do this and not do that when
It
they've
is.
made it
And like
stupidly
I'm so
accessible, but they're
excited.
horrible people.
Yeah, I'm so excited that for the first time with I Love You, It's Ruining My Life, I actually have a bookstore that I'm doing pre-orders with, and I'm so excited for
Oh
that.
my god, I love that.
And because they're doing it wholesale, I'm actually gonna get paid for it.
I know. You're actually gonna make money.
I'm gonna make money. And so I'm really excited about that because like it's so much more work on my end.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's going to end up being because if you do pre-sales through Ingram, what I'm making less than $1 for a $15 book.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
All of them are
And
ridiculous.
like I hate KDP, but I make more money from Amazon than I do from Ingram. So it's like, well, I am a teacher.
Yeah, it's literally like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. I know there are a few authors, and I've interviewed one of them, and she's a European author, so she doesn't use the Amazon environment at all. Um,
Mhm.
but she makes all her book sales and stuff through Kobo or her own website or other bookstores and stuff like that. But that's how that is out in Europe. Like, they don't rely on Amazon the way
Yeah.
that the North American market does. Um, but, like, even then, she still has a day job. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, "My day job is how I pay for all my fun author stuff." Um,
Yeah, that's pretty much how teaching is for me. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, cool, if I get my bonus, then great, I'm gonna buy some character art. Like, my next piece of character art that I get, I actually had a friend buy for me because she was like, it deserves, I love you, it's ruining my life, deserves pretty art, but you don't have money, so I'm gonna pay for it for you. So,
Oh my
like,
god, I love that.
I'm so excited. It's with one of my favorite artists too, and I'm like, I'm just gonna cry this whole time.
Oh my god, I
No
love
big
it
deal.
though. That's so exciting. I love when friends do stuff like that. I love a supportive friend. They make me so happy.
Mhm.
But yeah, and then the funny thing about it though is like we'll make this audiobook and like we'll get lucky if we even turn a profit on it, but I love that we're doing it for the accessibility of it. I love being able to have obviously like my voice, but like I love being able to bring these characters to life in another kind of way cuz like you do all the work of like bringing them to life and then I just get to add a little extra, human vocal soul to it, and so like I'm super excited about it. I don't even care about the
I'm so
profit at this point.
excited.
I'm just excited about
I'm
it.
so excited. And like everything, this story, Sidekicks and its sequels are very much my soul book in that they feel like the books that I was born to write. Like, I love all my books so much, but that one just has like something extra to it that I'm like, this is everything. Like, Batman's been one of my special interests since I was 4 years old. Superheroes have been, as a whole, have been a special interest since I was 12. Like, everything that I love and is important to me is in Sidekicks. And so it's just such a special book
I'm
that
so
I
excited
wish
about
more
it.
people knew about.
Oh, girl, I see you marketing all the time. And that's another thing you'll get with me is like once I narrate something for you, or like with the book that I've edited, or a couple of other things, like I'm gonna start reposting. I've already reposting everything I can, but I'm just like it's gonna be like boom, 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 everywhere. Because like it helps you with your marketing and getting more eyes
Mhm.
on your books. It helps me too because then people are like, oh, I like her.
So,
Maybe I should hire her too,
yeah.
or whatever it might be.
No,
Um,
I can't wait to start using snippets of your voice to help with the
Oh, it's gonna
advertisements.
be so great.
It's gonna be amazing.
It's gonna be so cool. That's how you mentioned that you wanted me to narrate is because I was gonna start
Yeah.
offering that as a service as like like $30 for a snippet to do something that's not just, a screenshot from a Kindle-esque looking thing. Because I've noticed, and again, I haven't written any of my books. They're all in some stage of work in progress. But one thing I've noticed is that like everybody markets the same and they do it because that's what the algorithm likes, but it's always the same, just like, here's a snippet from a Kindle thing and some music that might fit. And I'm like, why? I know there aren't very many, if maybe there are, but not, there aren't very many narrators that I've seen that offer, like, hey, let me read this snippet. Let me bring this scene to life for you. I might not be your number one choice for the voice of your character, but I can still give them a human
Mhm.
voice temporarily to kind of, just bring a little pizzazz to your marketing. I don't know how well it'll work in the algorithms, but I thought it was a cool
Yeah,
idea.
and I hate those Kindle things. I refuse to do them because I have terrible eyesight and I can't read them.
Well, and to me,
It
they're all like, it doesn't matter what genre it is, it doesn't matter what the tropes are. To me, they just all look the same. Like
Mhm.
it's some form of banter or it's some thing here or something there, and it's just like it doesn't really like I don't know. I don't know. And
It
again, it's just what the
I'll play
algorithms
around
like.
with, like, different hooks, and sometimes I will use a quote, but I'm not gonna do the Kindle thing. I'm gonna make it actually big because, again,
Yeah.
I have terrible eyesight and I can't read if it's tiny. Like, I saw one today that was like, I couldn't read anything on it, and I was
Yeah.
like, "It looks nice, but I can't read it," and it's one of those things where the algorithm inadvertently is ableist because it's not thinking about, oh, it's not big enough that people with bad eyesight can see. And so it's one of those things where I'm like, I refuse to do that. I'll do the hook, I'll add a quote, but the quote's going to be giant
Oh
and
yeah.
everyone's going to be able to read that. And so
Those
it's just,
I was gonna say also when I'm like scrolling through TikTok or Book Talk or whatever, or even through Threads, like if you don't have it to where I can immediately pick up on like what it is, or you don't give me something that's literally gonna hook me in 2 seconds, like if I scroll to your video and it's just the Kindle screenshot and some trending music, I'm just scrolling away. Like you
mhm,
have to give me something a little bit more. So like, and some of my favorite things are the on TikTok are like the voice actors who do like the lines that like everybody that uses for like animatics and stuff. And like I want to do that, but with stuff that authors are doing for their books. You know, like I want to help bring your character to life in an emotional way, the same way that those VAs do their own like stuff that they've written themselves. And then all of a
mhm.
sudden you see everybody using them for like character animatics or whatever it might be. Like, but let me do that with something that's personal to your characters.
Yeah, I love that so much.
So you will definitely be getting some of those for sidekicks.
Yay, I'm so excited. It's so funny with sidekicks. Like, I'm there is a romance subplot, and I have to tend to advertise it romance forward just because of the algorithm. But it's really just a subplot. It is superhero thriller first, generational trauma second, romance third.
Yeah.
And so it's like I always feel bad advertising that way because it's the only thing that gets eyeballs. But like all my best lines are not romantic at all.
Yeah. Felt. But I'm so excited. I'm excited to narrate Sidekicks. I'm excited to work with you on any future projects, the rest of the Sidekicks books.
The rest
Because
of Sidekicks books for sure.
yeah, because I was about to say you can't just abandon me like
No,
that if I
no, I
narrate the
can't.
first one. Plus, there is
And
there
that
is there
means
is market research to show that listeners, audiobook listeners, do like when you keep the same
yes,
narrator over a series. I've seen some
absolutely.
I've seen some advertised on ACX that are like book 7 in a series, and I'm like, "What happened to your narrator?
Yeah,
Where did they go?"
yeah, no. Like I definitely want to work with you on Sidekicks too, to the point that like it'll go into production before the book's out, so we can try and get it out not 2 years after the book comes out, so you'll get to read it early.
Heck yeah. But yeah, I'm excited about all the stuff you have coming up. I'm excited about narrating sidekicks. I'm excited about I Love You, It's Ruining My Life. It sounds like so much fun, even though you said it's going to be a sad book. It still
It's
sounds
sad,
like fun.
but it's fun for if you like to cry.
I do like to cry, actually. I do.
See,
I
then you'll
do.
love it.
uh, in fact, if I feel like having a cry later, I'm just gonna watch Project Hail Mary for the fourth time because that book or that movie makes me cry every time I watch it.
Oh, same. I saw it
Oh
in
my
theaters
gosh.
twice, and I was an ugly mess both times,
Oh
and
my
I'm
god, me
like,
too.
I'm not allowed to watch it yet, because as
Okay,
soon as I start watching it again, I will not finish editing this book.
but listen, so KG and I both watched it separately in the theaters twice because he was in the UK and I was over here. And then we decided what a great way to celebrate him leaving than watching Project Hail Mary that morning. And I was like, I'm bawling.
Oh,
He's crying too, like he's upset too because I'm just like, who's gonna watch me sleep now?
yep. The-
Like Rocky, Grace can't sleep if Rocky's not here.
I know.
But I was like, this is simultaneously the best and worst decision ever because it just happened to come on Prime like the day before he was leaving. So I was like, well, I want to watch it with him and I don't want to wait until November. So I guess we're just going to cry together.
Yeah, like it is my treat to sob my eyes out once I am done with this book that's going to make everyone else sob their eyes out.
Do
It
it.
is my motivation.
Motivation to finish editing is so you can watch Project Hail Mary and cry. I love
Uh-huh.
that so much. Oh my god, that is so great.
I just hit the halfway point in my draft, and I'm like, "Okay, okay, we're finally getting there."
We're getting there. We're gonna do it. Uh, I need to work on my books, but we're not gonna talk about that because I'm so behind on everything. Well, between like narrating and then doing some editing work
Yeah,
on some
you
stuff, and
got
then
so much going
I
on.
do. I made a thread forever ago that was like, I may never actually publish a book, but with what I'm doing between the podcast and narrating and everything else, like I'm getting to help either people get noticed through the podcast or through the audiobooks. I'm helping them bring their stories to life. And honestly, that's just as satisfying and fulfilling to me
Mhm.
as having my own stories come out. And then of course, KG and some of my other friends who have read some of my work are like, no, we need your books. We need you to publish this too. And I'm like, "Yeah, eventually, okay, I guess."
Eventually.
It might be
No.
next year because I'm booked out until February of 2027 now.
Listen, I'm happy
So
to, like, edit for free since you're doing my audiobooks for pennies, and, like, one of the things I did with my MFA was I did take so many editing classes that I'm happy to do that.
I might actually hit you up on that when I finish this rewrite of Mark of the Seraph. If you like gothic horror fantasy stuff, I might throw that at
I
you.
love
It's
that.
also sad. There's a lot of religious trauma in it, by the
Yes!
way.
Yay! No, I love it. I'm not very much a horror person. I love horror, and then I get
It's
nightmares. So it's gonna be
it's
one of those that you'll need to know that it's gonna take me longer because I can only, like, edit it with the lights on during the
it's
day.
like the horror in it is the horror of a corrupt church, also tied
Oh,
into the
that
horror
kind.
of
Yeah,
but
never
but it's
mind,
it's
I'm
but
good.
it's also like a little eco horror because there are these plant creature things that have something to do with something going on without giving spoilers.
Uh-huh.
And then, like, also there's some body horror in it because seraphim, like, are a thing, and, like, a biblically accurate angel has,
Yeah.
like, a bunch of eyes and stuff like that. So it's like, take that, but then put it on a body that's, like, spindly, kinda Slender Man-y, but also kind of terrifying. That's the kinda horror it is. It's not,
Oh, never mind. We're good.
yeah.
We're good. Never mind. This is my favorite type of horror, the kind that
Yeah.
doesn't mess me up.
Yeah, it's like the creepy, like, something's not quite right, but you can't put your finger on it until your finger's there and you're like, "Oh, that's what's going on." It's that kind of horror.
Mhm.
So, yeah, anyway, so that's another little, I keep talking about this book and then I'm staring at my keyboard like I could sit here and write after I get off the interview, or I could go play Oblivion and go to sleep.
Yep.
So, we'll see whatever happens,
We'll see. No, my plan for tonight is to play Disney Dreamlight Valley because I got hooked on it for like the 5th time because they added Cinderella. And
Heck yeah.
then and then come back and finish 2 chapters of edits because I finally hit my favorite part,
I
which
love that.
is when they're dancing around the fact that they like each other. For mature adult reasons, 'cause they're in their 30s, they have accepted that maybe them getting together at that exact moment is not healthy.
I love that they're mature about it, okay? Like, I love the fact that you've sent your characters to therapy. I love that they're mature about it. I love that they're, like, having conversations, and I'm sure there is some miscommunication trope in there, but, like, that is one that will make
Especially
me
at the
stop reading a
beginning
book.
because of everything. It's
Well,
all in the
yeah.
beginning, and once they actually start talking to each other, like, I wanted them to be able to communicate and it to
Yeah.
be, "Okay, well, she's dealing with anxiety that she's not on the right medications for," or she's actually not on medication for, like, the first 2/3 of the book. And because I wrote it in first person, her voice, once she gets on medication, is so much smoother, which was fun for me to write because that's how I am with my anxiety meds. Like, my
Yeah.
mind will race, and there'll be a lot of fragments, and there'll be a lot of side thoughts and everything, and then that kinda goes away once she's on medication, and so I kinda wanted that in there too to show, like, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, and I love that too. I love that you've got mental health rep in, like, the best kind of way. You're like, "We've gone to therapy. We're on meds. This is how things are." Like,
Mhm.
I love that because I feel like, again, maybe I'm not as avid as a reader as I used to be, but I feel like sometimes when people have mental health rep in their books, it's only the bad stuff. It's not the hey, if you go to therapy and you work on it and you take your meds, like things can be better. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be a struggle, you know?
Yeah, and like that's one of the main things is like, okay, Jack is in a terrible place. Like he is an alcoholic, and his um complete breakdown happens in this book. So, like, when I say he's very much a different person going into book 2, he's a year sober. He is a year in therapy. He's actually taking antidepressants. Like, he is in a lot better place than he is in this book where everyone's going to hate him because he's not taking care of his stuff yet.
Yeah. And oh, they're gonna be so excited. I'm just gonna fill out that ARC form when it comes out.
It's out.
Um,
It's out.
oh my god, it is out. That's right. I've been seeing you post about it. Okay, I gotta go fill that out when we get off, so I
Yes.
can I can look at that. Also, um, did you say that you're still gonna have ARCs up when we post this, or are you closing them?
Arcs are going to be closed at this point.
Okay,
So,
okay. Well, either way, even if the ARCs aren't open, I really think that you guys should pay attention to Ashley's social medias and you should be looking out for these books because I said so. So,
and also pre-order it from the
yes.
Imaginary Adventures bookstore.
Yes, pre-order it from the bookstore because you're helping Ashley and the bookstore. You're helping the indie bookstores, which is what we want to
Yes.
do. Indie for life, man. Let's go.
And you get a signed copy and art prints and a bookmark
Heck yeah. I
for
love
the same
it.
price as if you go to the Zon.
Yeah, and then you're not supporting the Zon because it is, like we said, a double-edged catch-22 type deal when dealing with the Zon. So why not get it from an indie bookstore where you get all the fun, cool stuff, and then you don't have to deal with your book being packaged like it was thrown through a blender before it went into the
Mhm.
box. Because even though Amazon started as a bookstore, because of their practices now, books are not packaged properly in boxes
Uh-uh.
anymore.
And it's very sad.
Yeah. I've seen so many authors be like, "Yeah, so I ordered 20 author copies of my book or whatever, or whatever they're getting their early copies for," and they're like either shipped separately or shipped in a box that has nothing in it but the books. And I'm like,
Yeah, I've had
I
them
can't
shipped
handle that.
separately. My last big one was shipped in 5 packages, and 4 of them arrived on the same day, and one was a week early that ended up getting stolen because I was on vacation because it arrived randomly a week early when the rest of the shipment didn't. And that's
Yeah. So you've got porch pirates and online pirates.
uh-huh. Yeah. I really hope whoever stole it off my doorstep really likes my book.
Right? You're like, I mean, I would have put something up on like I have a Ring camera, so I'd have put something up on my Ring thing and been like, "Hey, whoever stole the author copy of my book, I really hope you enjoyed it."
Yeah. Like I don't have that. I'm in an apartment complex and we've
I
got
am
some
too.
privacy things
Yeah.
where yes, you can have the camera, but it has to be from your inside window, and my inside window is not in a great spot for that. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's
ugh.
so weird because like I told my cuz I live by myself when KG's not here. So I told my apartment manager, I was like, "I'm putting a Ring camera up." And she's like, "Go for it." I think almost every neighbor in my little row back here almost has a Ring camera. So like that's so weird that they're like it has to be inside your apartment. That's odd.
Yeah,
Arizona's weird though.
we are weird. I blame the fact that we've got multiple ley lines in this state.
Honestly, that checks though, because Arizona has the weirdest energy of any state I've ever driven
Uh-huh.
through. It
Mhm.
really does. It's so odd.
Like, there's a ley line crossing in Sonora, and there's a different ley line crossing that's like in the middle of nowhere, an hour west of Phoenix, and that one had a cult build a compound on a crossing, and that cult was really weird. It's no
Girl,
longer a cult,
I was
but
about to say, girl, you're about to send me down a rabbit hole. If there's one thing I love, it is a good cult and a good
same,
cult story. In fact,
same.
I may or may not have a cult idea for a story that is like I'll tell you about it real quick because
Uh-huh.
why not? But basically, I basically had this idea because I was playing Cult of the Lamb, and then I was watching something else on TikTok or somewhere. Anyway, but it was basically like the preacher's it was like a Southern Gothic kind of deal, but the preacher's daughter is actually like an eldritch horror that like has this
Mhm.
cult. And because I can apparently very very rarely write books where people don't have like animal traits. That's just a thing that I do. But some of them did have like animal traits. So she has like the lamb ears, and like the kind of like creepy lamb eyes, but only when she's like mostly in her eldritch form. Anyway, and this FBI agent or whatever is like sent to investigate the cult because like they're not like entirely a murdery kind of cult, but people may or
Mhm.
may not have been going disappearing in areas surrounding where the cult is. And anyway, then he gets there and she basically manipulates the hell out of him, um, drives him a little crazy in like a psychological horror kind of way. And then he ends up basically becoming like her bodyguard. And it's very much the trope of tiny human man loves very monster eldritch horror woman.
I
Because
love
like I feel
that.
like I don't see that a lot in media anymore. It's always like
It's
the
the other
girl
way
falls in love with the
around.
monster. Yeah, it's a flip. It's the guy falls in love with the monster and he's into it. He's really into it. But like I was like, I need that in my life. And so like I've been stewing on that idea for a while. And so now you
I
guys
would
know
read
about that
that.
idea.
I'd read that.
uh, I also got inspired by Sinners with that one too. Cause like I
I
wanted
still
to
need to
have that
watch
like,
Sinners.
oh,
I
Ashley,
listen,
watch it.
I know
It
I
is
need to watch
so
it.
good.
Again, I've been editing this book all summer.
Okay, listen. You need to hurry up and edit your book. And then you
Yes.
need to watch Sinners first because like that's your good kind of like horror thing, and then watch Project Hail Mary so you can cry.
That is fantastic. Like,
Yep.
Sinners is one of those movies I'm like, everyone says I need to watch it, and I know I need to watch it, and I know I would love it as long as I watch it in the day with the lights on.
Yeah,
And
that's why you watch Sinners first and then you watch Project Hail Mary because then you just have dreams of Rocky and Grace being adorable. And then you can get sucked into all the Iridian OCs and AUs that I've been sucked into on Instagram and
listen,
stuff.
I get so many of those on my TikTok, and I
I
love
love
how everyone's just decided that Adrian is just a giant blue
Giant.
rock.
Yeah, Adrian is huge compared to Rocky, and I love that he loves his giant wife.
Me too.
Um, I think one of my favorite AUs or my favorite things about AUs is that Grace just names everything weird things. Like
Uh-huh.
depending on what the Iridian looks like, that's like what their name is to Grace. Like there's one that I'm following right now, and it's their OC's name is Whiteboard or something like that because they like write on themselves with like little like dry erase markers and stuff or something like
That
that.
is
Like it's
hilarious.
so funny. And then one of my other favorite AUs is after Grace dies, his bones fossilize and he becomes an Iridian, which is like so cool. I loved that
Ooh.
one. That one's really really good. I've been following that one. I like that one. But again, also mine are a lot of Bloody Mary, which is the ship between Simon from Iron Lung and Ryland Grace from Project Hail Mary, which is
Yeah,
also
Iron
really
Lung,
good.
I already know that one's a hard no for me.
It's
That's like
it's very much cosmic horror and it can give you nightmares, but it is
yeah.
so good.
Oh, I've heard amazing things, and I'm like, I am so glad that this piece of art exists, and the way that Markiplier, like, was able to do it, amazing. Is it for me? No.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. But again, it is so good. But yeah. Anyway, we've been rambling for a hot
We
minute
have.
now. This is all going to
We
be in there,
really
by the way. We're
have.
not cutting any of this out. This is how you get to know your authors, is by
Congrats, everyone.
rambling about all of this fun stuff. All right, but I
This is
am
what
going
happens
to
when you put two new neurodivergents in
in a room
something with
together.
no structure.
Right? Hey, that's why I like doing this though. I've told people before, this is like being on just a call with your friend that you haven't talked to in like 6 months because you disappeared and then you came back and you're like, hey, what have you been up to? And this is
Yep.
what happens. I can't handle structure very well. That's why I'm a pantser in my books. And that's why I pants everything in my life. So the fact that I have a schedule for narrating my audiobooks is a miracle in itself. So, like,
Honestly, I'm just impressed that you do it. Like, I wish I could, but I know I would get too obsessed over the stupidest things
Oh, I do.
that like just the way I would just say the same sentence over and over and never get past like the first sentence. So like I am so in awe of audiobook narrators.
It can get like that, especially when you're like, okay, I know that especially sometimes you'll come across lines and you're like, okay, I know the author wrote it this way, but my brain wants to autocorrect it to
Mhm.
something else. And then you're like, oh, wait, it's not that. Do you know how many times I had to re-record one of these books that I'm working on because I kept calling a character whose name is Jason, I kept calling him James. And I
Oh
had to
no.
yeah, I was like, crap. I've re-recorded like the first half of this book like 2 times, I think, because I caught myself doing that. And I'm like, no. Like I could probably fix it in post, but it's also very difficult to match. It can be very difficult to match like an emotion and a cadence and everything like in post. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Again, guys, this is why audiobooks cost a lot of money to produce.
Why you
um,
should pay your narrators unless they insist on royalty share.
yes, which we do. Some of us, at least I do, and I probably always will. Like, even once I'm like, hopefully I get a slight iota of popularity to where I can, really justify this being my full-time job because screw the job market. But anyway, I kind of fell into this because I lost my job and I was like, I have to do something. I've always wanted to do this, so why not? But anyway, I'll probably always do royalty share just because there are some
Mhm.
authors that I think their books should be made, and if that's the only way they can do it, then let's do it.
I love
Plus,
that.
if I get lucky and one of y'all pops off really well, then we both make money. So,
Yeah.
that's
Like
another way
I
I look
keep
at it too.
hoping. I'm like, one of these days I'm gonna go viral. And let's have it be with the audiobook.
Right. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me today and rambling with Ashley. We had so much fun. Thank you again, Ashley, for being on the podcast and taking time out of your night. And again,
Thank you.
you guys should check out Sidekicks, and we'll be formally announcing the audiobook after this. I mean, we formally announced it here, but like on social media and everything, it'll be announced once this episode airs. So go check out Sidekicks. Also pick up I Love You, It's Ruining My Life. Go pre-order that. And yeah, I look forward to working with you and seeing you succeed in everything. And thank you again.
Yes, thank you. Have a great rest of your night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. We will see you next week. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of So You're an Author. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please don't forget to rate and review SYAA so we can reach even more indie authors and listeners too. Now keep listening for an amazing deal. Congratulations on making it to the end of this episode. If you're an indie author or know one, I'd like to take this time to tell you about the author services that I provide. Other than being a cool as hell podcast host, I am an audiobook narrator. Now my rates are based on the length of your novel, and I will have a form available on my website for you to fill out if you're interested. I make simple book covers and other character graphics, which are listed on my website in the description below. Beyond those 2 services, I offer what I call Yap and Sip sessions. These are kind of like the podcast you're listening to, just without an audience ever hearing them. We can talk about your plot, characters, or somewhere that you just might be stuck in your manuscript. Call it body doubling with your new bestie, where I'm just here to chill and listen while you work out the kinks or add some in to whatever you might be working on with your novel. Everything listed above can be found on my website. Anybody who goes to my website can put the code FOUNDYOURPODCAST, all one word, somewhere in their email or form, and I will give you a discounted rate on any of the services listed above. Once more, I thank you for listening to the So You're an Author podcast. See you next week.